So we have about a half an hour. And I'm going to go ahead and move through with the agenda.
Shawnee, are you?
I'm waiting to see if I can get the agenda.
Oh, sorry. I was just, let me pull it up.
Okay, so board member status. So we are now in the process of looking for a board member. Oh, okay, Jorah is having a problem with connection. So she'll be right back. Okay, so this is something that she does know of, so I'm going to go ahead and say it. We are in the process of looking for a board member. The board member status has changed for Jonathan Dobhoff, and we will be, a PABA has been notified and is going to be looking, and I think they've already submitted names for, or are either in the process or are submitting names to city council for the next position.
I can give a clarity and update on that. We
Okay,
received
thanks.
we received a letter of resignation from Jonathan this afternoon. And as such, the council will be preparing a letter to alert the PABA. We've let them know that we did have some difficulty connecting with him so that they were aware of the process moving forward, but we've not formally sent notification that the seat has been vacated, as it was just vacated this afternoon.
Okay, thanks, BJ. Okay, anybody have any questions? It's just an update. Okay, so we'll be waiting for the next connections on that. And then I guess what will be, when can we, I think it's probably too soon to know, but just wanted to check in and see when we would be able to expect the new board member at this point. Do we have a projected date or any type of timeline? Nothing.
Once the name is submitted, I think that, and help me if I'm wrong here, Stephanie, I think that there are 60 days to fill a vacancy. And I think once the name is submitted to the council, they have a certain number of days, though I'm not certain what they are off the top of my head, to interview and make an appointment. So my guess is that they would, by the latest, be appointed in August.
Okay, so August appointment. Okay, so then the next item we're going to discuss is the PAB policy discussion. And part of that is going to be that we have been looking through our different cities that we were working on and finding policies that we believe that should be in our own, as far as like how we're going to run this board. And so I know that we have, that everybody has their assigned city, and I just wanted to get a status on how that's going for everyone. I know for me, I have Albuquerque, and I have found some things in a Google Doc, which I have been placing in there, but Google Docs and I do not understand each other very well. So I do have it. I just need to be able to put it into a place where everyone can see it. But we've talked about it, and we will get that done tonight. Anyone else?
So I had a quick question about that. I know Beth had, I think you had given us the chart for that, kind of like a rubric or spreadsheet for that.
Yes, I have that actually.
Okay.
Did you want me to take a picture of it and send it to you?
No, I was wondering if she had something electronic that we can just start popping things into the document, if she could forward that to us.
Also, is there, I guess, Shawnee, you had said that there's some, like related to the City Hall email, there's some equivalent of Google Doc that we could be working in. Is that correct?
There is, yeah.
All right, so we should all start doing that.
Right.
Right, so can someone create one specifically for us to fill in about these comparative things, but also send some instructions about how we create them?
I'm not certain if that
Yeah.
is actually the case, Shawnee, because I think that that item that you're talking about is called Microsoft Teams, and there are a limited number of licenses for Microsoft Teams, and I think that I don't know that we have them available for folks right now. I think we may have hit the max number. But
Okay, so using Google Docs then is our best option?
Yep.
Okay, yes?
Yep.
Anybody?
So what
Okay.
what I will do is I have, so I created a PAB document, but Google Docs so I have that and I will make that available tonight. I have filled in my part and I was going to just have everybody just submit their own documents so that we just have it under one file. So I can do that tonight. And I will put it in the send that out to
So I
board.
guess one of the things that I found kind of interesting, and I don't know if everyone found this as they were looking, that there's a specific policy regarding attendance and participation of the public at some of these board meetings.
Hmm.
So I don't know if other people had that same experience or.
In regards to in
Yeah.
regards to what though?
So I'm just wondering if are we going to go through specific things that we think need to go in our policy and talk about that right now? And kind of get those, or what are we doing right this second?
So I actually just wanted to see where everybody was with it and if
Okay.
they had been able to get into the Google document. That was the start.
Okay.
Okay. Could I make a suggestion too, that this seems like a great opportunity for a subcommittee? Rather than a committee of the whole, like if we could suggest or send to people stuff that we liked in policy if we've seen, but if there are a couple people who are willing to just sort of assemble, the best practices or whatever, because it just seems like otherwise we're just going to get even more bogged down than we did in the bylaws discussion.
Sure. So if that's your recommendation, I will put that to the group to see who would like to be on a subcommittee or how that feels. Or if anybody would be interested in doing that.
I guess go ahead.
Well,
Go ahead.
I'd be interested in helping with that for sure.
Matthew, okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is Celia. I don't have a problem with that, but I think that we were giving so many cities. So I think that it's beneficial to have everybody take some ownership over something, whether it's one or two, just to kind of, bring that to the table.
Right, and
So-
I think also to familiarize ourselves with policies and procedures too. I think that was one of the reasons why we decided to do our own research, so that we can also gain individual knowledge by doing it as well. I have Durham, North Carolina, and I just asked for another week. I asked for another week, and then I'll be able to put something in the Google Docs myself.
One thing that I really liked about the, well, first of all, the Austin, Texas board is still kind of figuring itself out after several revisions. But one thing that they do really well, which I hope we can incorporate going forward, is they have basically like a ticker that shows the status of every complaint that's open. They have a place that shows whenever a policy changes, whether the new disciplinary policy makes it less severe or more severe. So recently, just in March, a policy was changed that made it easier for officers to avoid any kind of real discipline. And they issued a basic statement just informing the public about that. And in the spirit of impartiality, they also had a section where people could also send in celebrations or affirmations of police practice that they found helpful in their communities. So that having some sort of, at the very least, that interactivity of that board was really helpful. And it's really interesting to just go through and see the kinds of complaints that they've been receiving. And also, I couldn't tell if they've implemented this, but had some sort of tracker to say this is where we're at in the hearing of that complaint, so that the public was able to see, oh yeah, they're hearing these complaints, and there's a very transparent process around how long these things are taking. So I'm not very good with technology, but I think finding someone to help do that. And one complaint that I heard in the last couple of weeks was, the current process that we're using, right? There was not a lot of transparency. It doesn't feel like the old hearing of complaints process worked. And so we really need to do that better this time around so that the public can really feel heard, and that they're being heard has a live kind of sense to it. So I think that's something I'd very much recommend and put in the Google Doc or whatever we end up creating.
So I like that idea, Matthew, and that's one of the things I saw with the Albuquerque board is that I actually saw that they, when I was looking at citizen review boards versus our board and what we could do, I know that one of the complaints I heard as well was that there are no real, there is a complaint process, but there's no real feedback or oversight, at least that people had been seeing so far. So, but one of the things that the Albuquerque board I could not find, I ended up asking more questions. And that's, I think, one of the things that we should, try to avoid if possible is like, does this website offer, do I have to ask more questions in order to do it? Or is it simple? Is it a touch thing? Do I know how to navigate this easily? If I don't know if my literacy is not very good, if I, have other questions, or do I need to talk with somebody like in real time? All they had was like Spanish and English, and that's pretty much it. And so that just left me answering more questions as to how people would follow up or who would be that follow-up person. So that's kind of what I was left with and what I had written down in my Google document. Anyone else?
The Austin process just also affirms, I think, to affirm to our board and to the public that setting these things up and doing it well is really essential so that you don't end up having to backtrack and restructure everything later. This is a delicate process, but so it's important to do due diligence.
Yeah.
So Seattle has this very complicated process in a certain way because they have 3 different groups that deal with this. They have a community group that takes input from the community and recommends policy. And that's all they do. Then they have a group of civilians and police that do the investigations. And I have to say, I used to live in Seattle, and I'm trying to find someone to talk to sort of see how that really actually works in some way. But they don't have disciplinary power, so it goes to the chief of police. And then they've now appointed a 3rd office of like public integrity or something, who's supposed to monitor what happens in those 2 other groups. So
That is a little complicated.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, seems like
Gosh.
a lot. But they created this in response to a federal order, a court order that I guess took a long time to negotiate. And yeah, so anyway.
Yeah, I think one of the things too is going to be instrumental and pivotal is that, we keep simple things simple, right? Like, when you have a police complaint, where does it go? Can you make a complaint where not City Hall, but at City Hall or at the public safety building or at different places around Rochester, like in a Wegmans or in a corner store or something like that, where these incidences occur that are concerning to folks? Is it easy to read? Is there a complaint process that everybody can follow? Is there, not everybody has literacy levels that are going to be, adequate enough in order to be able to interpret things. Is there somebody that can help with those processes? So those are things to keep in mind when you're looking into some of these city boards as to how well they deal with the public, as to whether or not they can actually process information and the people can actually make a complaint that's adequate.
And you said that, so one of the things that I'm going to focus on when I start my research on Durham, North Carolina, is there anybody that can help a person through the complaint process? I think that would be important. So I'm going to focus in on that in our report.
And when you do your Google document, Michael, you can put, like, you can make notes on the side of your findings, and then you can include those in the actual document itself. So your notes, your document will be here, and then your notes will be on the side. So that might be something interesting. So you can be like, here's my thought process behind this. Here's the other questions that I had going into, the process itself. So, okay, anything else, folks? No? Okay. All right, moving on. Okay, so I know that there had been some discussions around a legal advisor for the PAB, independent from City Hall or City Council. So I just wanted to open up the floor. I know that had been discussed several times, but Bob? No, Bob. Is Bob on the phone?
Yes.
Okay.
I've been on the phone twice.
So I was wondering, and I had some discussions today, and I just wanted to put it out there that I'm wondering if we should defer till after we find an executive director and to see what everybody thought about that. Floor is open.
So I guess number one, is that something we can do? Would be,
Go ahead, Stephanie.
Yes, according to the local law, and I'm actually looking for the section quickly now, the board has the ability to hire outside counsel. Like, rather than scrolling and looking, I'll just tell you, the board has the ability to hire outside counsel.
The
And
other
you
thing
don't- Oh, go ahead, Vijay.
the other thing I would note is that would be a staff function to perform for you, and you don't have staff right now to do that. So hiring the executive director to me would make sense because that would be a function of theirs to be able to help support you to do that.
And they would also be able to tell you what was within your budget, just in terms of legal fees.
So folks, unless there are any other suggestions or outright concerns about this, I do think that we can defer this discussion till another time. Is that okay?
I think so, yes.
I agree.
Okay, okay, cool. All right, so we're gonna move on then to the next part. All right, so then, we talked about plan for the next quarterly report. So our quarterly report is due, I think, in a couple of weeks. So that's gonna be kind of a report that, I mean, we do have some things to report on, but you know, I wonder if it has to be due, I wonder if it can be due like at the end of July, maybe August?
I would defer to Stephanie on this, but I think at one of the last meetings, we discussed that quarterly reports are only required once you start hearing cases. Because because the reports are a summation of the findings and recommendations that are made. And I don't think you would have to start that until after you've hired the executive director and have started hearing cases. Stephanie, does that sound accurate?
Yes.
Okay, so that makes sense. Okay.
Could we still just put it somewhere to where we know that that process is needed?
As far as what, Mike?
As,
You want it
as
like-
far as, go ahead, say that again.
No, I was just saying, do you just want, I mean, we will be notified once our quarterly reports are due. Is that what you're saying by staff?
Right, or just knowing that that process is needed, that we need to have that process in place. I don't forget about that.
Yeah.
Well,
Yep, so
that's gonna be part of the ED's responsibilities, so I don't think.
Right, so I'm saying, put that down as a thing to do for the executive director. Once we hire one, that they know that that's a process that we need to have. Because
is that the process of the ED or is that the process of, because that's a board function, not necessarily an ED function? Can I get some clarification?
My guess is that they would prepare the report for you. I don't know if you would have to
Okay.
vote to approve it or not. I'm not
Okay.
certain exactly, but
Okay.
your staff should be doing this type of work for you. It may not be the ED, it may be another staff member, like the executive assistant might have a hand in that, but a staff member would be the one that did that.
Okay. Okay, and then, so then the last thing that I have, folks, is the RPD contract status. So Bob, are you here? Like reports like, I can't read, reports evidence of activity? Is he available to speak more on this? I get, okay, yes. Bob, are you there? He's not there. I only hear talking, not him. So I think he just wanted to know if RPD contract status had been approved by city council, I think was his question.
So I think the question is, what is the status, right? So in other words, because as of our last meeting and stuff, that we didn't even know, nothing, it's expired. And I wasn't even clear that they were in negotiations about it or anything. So,
I think we'll just have to,
yeah, so BJ, you weren't asked about that before?
I certainly did not look into this, but
No.
my understanding is that contracts are negotiated between human resources and the unions. And I don't know that there would be any involvement on the PAB side or on the council side with regard to contracts or negotiations.
But how would the council has to be the one that approves the contract, right?
I thought it was the budget they approved, not the contract.
Okay, how could HR people be negotiating a police contract? That doesn't make any sense to me because it's a
Stephanie, do you have-
policy.
City employees, right?
Stephanie, do you have any perspective on this, or is this something that we should submit in writing later?
Bob, are you, okay?
Is that Bob?
Yeah. it's Bob.
I do believe that there is some attorney involvement in that, but that said, in order to give you a complete answer, I would,
We can hear you a little bit.
Can you hear us?
Go ahead, Bob.
The thing that I'm concerned about, is the contract specifies, protects the police from disciplinary action.
Okay.
Bob, I'm sorry, I think you're cutting out.
So I think he's saying that Bob is asking if the contract actually protects people from, protects police from disciplinary action. And will that affect us when we get our, when we successfully win the lawsuit?
And there are all kinds of things in police contracts, like any disciplinary records are destroyed after 2 years, right? Things like that.
The city also has a contract.
Bob, you're still not coming through.
To
Oh,
Um,
just give up.
Bob,
I
can
think-
you type it for us, please?
I think what Bob and everyone are trying to say, though, is that this kind of lack of actual looking into what's in the contract by anybody is exactly what we're here to question and to look into more deeply. And there's no way that it should be negotiated if there's anything in it that is impeding transparency. And so I think absolutely that's a process. I don't know, we can tell whoever's in charge of that to but I think we need to put a stick in the gears there and stop that. If it's just the way it's always been done, like the way things always have been done, cover up all sorts of things. In all sorts of institutions, and absolutely, this is not the time to let that just fly by.
And I would just question, are those contracts made public? I'm not sure, because if they are,
Stephanie?
public, we probably would need a copy of it.
I know Bob had a copy of something over there. I don't know what it was though.
It ain't no telling what Bob got a
Oh
copy.
man, Bob, we gotta talk about that too. We gotta get you out of there. That room looks great, but I don't know. Ugh.
Yes, final executed contracts between the city and anyone are all made public. For the most part, there may be few limited exceptions to that, but this is one that I believe is a public document as well.
Would there be a way that we can get it? I'm not sure that we're ready to even look for it. Would it be, whose website would it be on? Where would we find it?
I think it'd be probably the city
I
website,
believe it
right?
was actually circulated previously. I can double check that.
Okay. That'd be great. Thank you, Stephanie.
Can we put that on the agenda for our next meeting?
Yep. You got it. Okay, so next meeting. So guys, next meeting, as we're wrapping up, is city contract. Okay. We're gonna talk about questions for the executive director, okay? Position issues, questions. And we're gonna talk about some more ED position stuff that we have coming up, which I will talk about outside of here because not executive session right now. And is there anything else that anybody else wants on the agenda? Because I know a lot of it was ED position related, so I'm thinking of non-ED position related issues and concerns.
So I guess we would still be talking a little bit more about policies, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
PAB policy.
And I just wanted to mention one thing, when we're talking about the quarterly report, and even though we said that that's when we're working on cases, in the one from Syracuse, they talk about public meetings and outreach, and then they also talk about board training and education. So
So
I guess for the public meetings and outreach, I don't really know what our role will be with that. So maybe we can discuss that next time. And then of course, the board training and education is something that we need to discuss for future.
we do need to talk about that.
And Dr. McIntosh, your job description for the executive director mentions that as part of their role in setting up outreach and education for the community.
Are we talking about community education or PAB board members education?
Both.
Both,
Okay.
yeah.
All right,
Yes.
okay.
Ay, ay, ay.
All right, what else, guys?
Can we
else?
talk about our next meeting time?
What?
When the next time we're going to convene?
Oh,
And can we get
So-
back to regular meeting times, please?
yes, so we can talk about that offline. And I will send that out in an email about when we can do that. I don't know if we need to do a doodle poll again. I don't know if we can start meeting on Thursdays again like we were, but I will certainly send that out tonight, okay? And I'll put meeting times.
So if we're planning on meeting, okay, so we've never mind, scratch that.
Okay. All right.
Are we able to, I know we've talked about this before, but given how much is going on right now around policing in the nation, in our city, to invite the police chief to come inform us what their approach is going to be in light of the demands around, and to have a conversation with us so we can also ask them what they're up to. I think it'd be a great time to start talking with the police chief.
What do folks think about that?
I agree with that. I would just ask for us to have agenda specific questions in the meeting to have a specific purpose. But I do agree that the time is now to
Agree.
try to at least open up some type of communication with the Rochester Police Department.
I would also like to invite the mayor to have that conversation with us.
I agree. I'm gonna write that down, guys, unless anybody has any objections. Excellent.
I guess I would just ask if BJ has any suggestions.
BJ? Where is he?
I'm right here. I
Hi.
would say you certainly have the ability to ask anyone to meet with you. I would always caution you, and I know I sort of beat the same drum on this every time, that your first move should really be to hire the executive director. Because once you have the executive director, they will be able to fulfill the tasks that you want. So they'll be able to reach out and set up meetings and do this. Because again, right now, I'm only able to provide logistical support for these meetings. And Beth is here to help with the executive director search specifically. So I would say you certainly can extend the invitation. They may very well say, they may respond, they may say, you know, we'd like to wait until you have an executive director so that we can set things up through with them. But I mean, I can't advise you one way or the other on what you should do on that.
Yeah, so go ahead, Matthew.
All right. I saw the police chief at the Liberty Pool on Thursday night, and he seemed very open to the idea of talking. So I think, you know, if it's as simple as let's get together, then, you know, obviously it'd be great to have support, but we can also have conversations. They don't have to go bigger than that. But certainly I think both in the interest of the people and in terms of engaging with the police department, if we wait till we have an ED, like these issues will not be as live. So it's part of our job to at least keep those conversations hot, even if I think it's what the city residents would like us to do.
And I agree that I think we can extend as a PAB and extend an invitation to the police chief. I think that would also mean something. So.
Right. And I
I
agree. I agree as well, especially with the climate and the timing. Waiting on the executive director could be months from now. So I think as long as we have a purpose for it and a specific purpose, I think we should extend the invitation.
Okay.
I'd also like to think about sort of having some educational conversations with some of the people nationally who are looking at policies around use of force and things like that. I did send that all out to you, but you know, that it doesn't have to be our official meeting. It'd be if people are able to join or whatever, but to start setting up some of those things.
So I do have an update on that. RIT's public safety program.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yep. So I did have that on the back end, kind of percolating in the back. Dr. Altheimer and his colleague and mentor, Dr. Klofus, I'm still waiting to hear from, but I did reach out to him specifically to meet with us. And then I know we also we're going to reach out to AJ as well. So I also extended that invitation as well. Okay, so those will be, I can inform you guys on the back end what's happening there, but I did send a second email to Dr. Klofus about some of that stuff, and I will bug him again. AJ, I can bug anytime. Okay. All right, folks, so it's 8 o'clock. All right, so we've done a lot this meeting, so thank you so much for all of your engagement and help. And I'm going to make a motion to end the meeting tonight.
Second.
It doesn't have to be
I
seconded.
know, but I'm going to.
I say it every time. I know. It just.
I know. I think that's going to be the running joke. It's being like,
Right.
Okay. All right. So, but we still have to vote. There is no vote.
Correct.
There is no votes. Okay.
There is a vote.
There is a vote.
Is there, Rabbi? Yeah, there's a motion, but you don't need a second to adjourn a meeting, but you still
Okay.
need a vote.
All right. So all in favor of ending the meeting tonight at 8 o'clock?
Aye.
Okay. All right. All opposed in ending the meeting? You want to be here forever?
All right.
You don't have an opinion at all? Okay. All right.